disrupted.
America that I thought weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. The war machine is crying desperation. They're crying desperation because right now they're trying to get more money into Ukraine as fast as possible, and people are losing interest, they're losing respect, they're losing touch with the fabricated idea that we have to send all of our money, all of our resources, all of our finances, siphon our countries to this endless war regime of Ukraine fighting Russia. And they're trying to do everything as much as possible to constantly sell you this idea, manufacture consent, manipulate people's minds, that they had to drag people from, from Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper, newsmen, to Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan, the State Department. They even brought in Victoria Nuland on CNN, for God's sakes. That's how desperate they are, that they have to bring the original architectures that brought you to the brink of Ukrainian warfare to constantly peddle the idea that we have to still send money to this country because they're winning so much. They're winning so much. They're just so desperate because we're winning so much. And don't think of it as like losing your money. It's definitely going to be a loan because eventually, at some point, whenever, we haven't decided yet, you may not get this money back. So now, Morning Joe on MSNBC chimes in on this. And of course, Morning Joe, MSNBC, is notorious for manufacturing consent for endless warfare. They are notorious for giving you gobbledygook talking points from a marketing research team at Raytheon and presenting it to you as a case, as an argument, to siphon your resources, siphon your nation's economic stance and stability to a corrupt nation to do endless warfare. This is notorious for MSNBC. And here is Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, who are the most cringeworthy couple to be on cable television. As Michelle Wolf, the comedian, once said, it is like watching a Me Too workout. They are like a sexual assault claim that had a happy ending. Like, that is how cringeworthy this couple is. And that's even throwing Woody Allen into the mix. And you know about Woody Allen. I don't have to explain that to people. But here is Morning Joe giving their take and reaching their low point on how we have to sell you the idea of war to possibly the crotchety over 65 viewers that are still watching Morning Joe on television. But listen to this.
Of our support for Ukraine, Mika, there were people on the far left that would mock and ridicule the argument that China was watching. Mm-hmm. That if we didn't support Russia, if we didn't push back on Russia, if we didn't support Ukraine, that not only would Putin get that message and keep going into Ukraine and going to the Balkan states, but Xi would get the message and he would go into Taiwan. He wants to go into Taiwan. And if America lost its will to support people fighting for their own freedom.
Yeah.
The lunacy that comes out of these people, the mental gymnastics is shocking, fascinating, folks. So they're claiming that if we don't send more billions of dollars into this warfare, this manufactured warfare, this disaster, this humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, then that sends a message to Putin to further invade Ukraine and the Baltic states. Not only that, but then that'll send a message to President Xi or President Xi in China to invade Taiwan. So now we're just jumping country to country. It's so ridiculous. It's so goddamn ridiculous. They can't even keep their enemies intact. They can't even figure out which enemies to focus on. Well, no. If then Putin will attack, and then China will attack this, and then I don't know, Hugo Chavez will rise from the dead and take over Latin America. And then I don't know. Then Donald Trump is gonna just take over North America and it's like Joe Scarborough is telling the most off-putting bedtime story. Like, oh my god. So their argument is that the fact that we have to do this because otherwise it could lead to China invading Taiwan. Like, again, they're jumping into conspiracies, but they can't match the points to connect those connections. Just like with Russiagate. They said that somehow Donald Trump colluded with Russia to hack the election in 2016. But they don't know how. They never knew how. But they can tell you with a straight face that it happened, but they just don't know how. And they spent almost 6 years trying to tell us that. 6 years. They could not find an excusable, plausible method that their argument made sense. And if you point that out, you're considered a Russian puppet.
The message would be sent. The message that she is getting right now from little Mike Johnson and Donald Trump, it's just devastating. And the message is this: Republicans who for the past 50 years have been the main force to push back hard on communism, they've surrendered to the communists. They surrendered. Mike Johnson surrendered to the communists.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's reached that point. It's reached that point. Oh my God. Oh God. So, according to this epic tale of Tall Tales by Joe Scarborough, the Republicans are now aiding the commies. The Republican GOP that spent years attacking the Democrats for saying that they're socialists and they're going to get us towards a communist state are the ones that are actually the communists, apparently. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know what? As crazy and deranged and psychopathic that is, what a bold statement that is, it kind of works for MSNBC. Because if you think about it, their viewing audience, the crotchety over 65-year-olds that are still paying cable prices to watch this crap in the morning, are going to be tuning in. They're going to be listening to this, and they're going to be reminded of growing up when the, Red Scare years were around. And they're going to probably be sucked into the fact that, oh, wow, well, I don't want to deal with commies again. I mean, we spent so many years trying to fight against it. And, oh, my God, we don't want the Soviet Union to rise up again. So, yeah, I'm going to take my retirement funds and send it off to Ukraine. I don't care if I go broke and homeless and not afford food. I don't care about the economic stance of my country. It's the commies I'm worried about. Ah! The Reds are coming back! And the GOP is helping them. Yes, little Mike Johnson and Donald Trump are seek. I can't even say this with a straight face. It's so absurd. I don't know how they could say it with a straight face. Like, anyone with a half-working brain cell can see how stupid that argument is, how ridiculous that claim is. You're saying that the Republicans that constantly attack the Democratic Party for being commies and socialists and are going to lead us because they're going to give us health care and education, or at least that's what they promised. They're the ones leading us to a communist dictatorship, but now it's somehow the Republicans, because they're not sending money to this corrupted nation, they're the ones aiding communism around the world. Yeah, hear this again, because that's, wow.
Have been the main force to push back hard on communism. They've surrendered to the communists. They've surrendered. Mike Johnson surrendered to the communists, to the ex-communists, to the wannabe communists. Mike Johnson surrendered. Donald Trump surrendered a long time ago to Vladimir Putin. Surrendered to Xi a long time ago. He has nothing but praise for Xi, for Kim Jong-un, these communist leaders, Mika. And that is a message that Xi is receiving.
By the way, if you look at the Republican stance on this, they're also offensive against China. They're also putting their pennies against, other regime changes. Like the only reason, and here's the thing, the only reason Republicans are against the war in Ukraine, because they're for every other war. They've been for war the longest time. For as long as the Democrats have been for war. It's a uniparty. Like, they're both bought by war contractors, so of course they're going to be pushing for war as much as possible. The only reason why Republicans have the moxie to go against Ukraine is because they view it as Joe Biden's war. Oh, Joe Biden is picking a fight with Russia. Joe Biden is helping Zelensky in this awful humanitarian crisis. So it's not our regime change fault. It's not us that's manufacturing this war. It's Joe Biden's war. And I don't want to be for Joe Biden's war, but I will send money for a genocide. I will send money off to do offensive regime change in other countries. I'm okay with that, but Joe Biden can have Ukraine. That's his problem. Like, that's the only reason. Only reason. It's nothing to do with identity politics shit to the point of communism. Like, holy shit. Holy shit. Joe Scarborough. Wow. How low can you go? How pathetic can this show go? Like I said, though, it works for their audience. Because if people grew up with the Red Scare and the McCarthy smears and the Cold War, statures, they're going to be looking at this and they're going to get chaotic and they're going to get, anxious and, oh my God, this could be another Cold War and God, we can't have more commies around. And yeah, we gotta siphon more of our finances, siphon more of the treasury to aid a bunch of neo-Nazis, because that is how important this is. I want to be free from the possibility of more red-baiting commies around. Oh, God. This is sad. This is sad. And that's coming from a grown-ass man. That's from a grown-ass friggin' man. And he's saying with a straight face because possibly he believes this crap. Like, he's being told this by producers, but I think internally he actually believes this. Because it's been told this whole time. Nobody has actually challenged him. Nobody has actually pressured him to check his arguments, to fact check his own stances. That's why he's able to get away with this crap. Anyway, let's see the rest of this.
Receiving loud and clear that it's not just Donald Trump now, it is the Republican Party. Once the bulwark against communist aggression, it is the Republican Party, Ronald Reagan's old party, that is now collapsed.
It's completely gone, and this is a terrifying inflection point.
It is.
And for anybody who doesn't take...
Oh, let's mourn the loss of the Ronald Reagan pro-war Republican Party, because God forbid they turned down one war. They turned down funding for one war. Everything is gone. What happened to the days of pushing Wall Street to the brink? What happened to the days where we just took a bunch of money, we sent it out to another country, we installed a terrorist regime to go and fight other people that we hate and manufacture wars? What happened to us? We lost our ways. It's more the loss of the great Ronald Reagan Republican Party, because now, God forbid, they challenged a war. Such a sad loss. Oh, man. Hysterical.
Take it seriously or think the election doesn't matter or says, oh, he's not serious, you're out of your mind.
I think, Mika, if you hold a mirror to yourself, you guys are the ones out of your mind. Because you are making the most insidious, insulting, ridiculous claims on live television with a straight face, and you have really no argument to back these claims. Like, have you noticed that they're not presenting any argument to how somehow Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and the Republican Party is defending old-style Stalin communism? Or how they're defending China in their exertion to take over Taiwan? Like, I just lost it. They just lost it. Oh my God. That's hilarious. That is absolutely friggin' hilarious. And also, it's leading to note that Mika Brzezinski, the lady on the left here, the victim in this PR couple, because no doubt, they hooked up, they got together, they got married for career points. I'm almost positive. I don't want to put my foot down and say that, but seems like that. Seems like a PR stunt couple. But Mika has family relations in Ukraine. Mika Brzezinski has family that has helped aided in things like the Holocaust and regime change and white supremacy groups in Ukraine and East Europe. So it kind of makes sense that someone in that family that's on television with her husband is able to make these assorted claims that somehow, if we don't send billions of dollars wasted in this warfare, it's going to lead to a communist revolution. And it's just so absurd. It's the most insanely radical depiction. It's such a stupid friggin' argument. They have nothing to defend on that. But like I said, even as stupid as the argument is, it works for their viewers. It works for this kind of demographic. Because if people grew up in the Red Scare, grew up in the days of the Cold War, being propagandized that if we don't, stop any sort of measures, that doesn't privatize everything, that doesn't, turn everything to a global regime, that, oh my God, we're going to have a communist revolution and it's going to be insidious. If we give workers, better wages and proper union benefits, then, oh my God, that's going to aid towards the Soviet Empire. Like, just go, you lived through that this obviously works for you. But anyone that's outside of this, anyone that knows about the situation unfolding, knows that this is ridiculous. It's a childish argument, and that shows how desperate the mainstream media, the war machine, and the advertisers are to sell you to continue selling this war. They're so goddamn desperate. They've had Zelensky, they've had Jake Sullivan, they had Antony Blinken on. They've had world leaders trying to sell you this. Here, Justin Trudeau still continuing to say us Canadians somehow have an obligation to defend Ukraine, even though he has no obligation to defend Canadians. Isn't that kind of a coinky dink? They are so desperate. They'll come up with the most radical, insane plot twists to suck you in to this basically death trap cult machine that is going to oppress you, that's going to it's used to manipulate you. You're just a pawn in this. There's nothing defensive about this. There's nothing that's aiding anybody except themselves. It's a sickness. It's a goddamn sickness.